Hey guys, welcome to another episode of A Cup of Positivity. We are continuing our monthly theme of sex and relationships with a lovely guest, Jade Bianca. Jade is the founder of Dating After Divorce, a matchmaking service that provides divorcees with the tools and connections to start fresh with dating again. She has an array of different services catered to people who have gone through a big breakup and want to take that first step into dating. I also just want to let you know that we had a minor technical glitch with this episode, so it does actually end quite abruptly and our goodbye was cut off, unfortunately. But I didn't want to completely scrap the episode just because of that, so I hope you don't mind or find it too disrupting. Please don't forget to like, comment and share the episode where possible, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Hi Jade, welcome to A Cup of Positivity. How are you?
Hi, Martha. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Firstly, do you have your cup of tea with you?
I do. Yes, ma'am.
Ooh. Oh, I love that your mug is like branded as well. Dating After Divorce.
It is. It isn't the right font, but it's okay. So I just thought I'd bring a little bit of my company for our chat today.
Yeah, exactly. What tea do you have, just out of curiosity?
Honestly, I think it's just like a stronger green tea.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
What about you?
I've got my is it I'm trying to see strawberry and raspberry herbal tea in my dogs before dudes mug.
I love that. Do you have a little dog?
Yeah, she looks like that.
That's so cute.
Yeah, this is one of those mugs that you can have like you can like choose the characteristics of like the girl that's on there and then the dog. So
that's great.
That actually looks like Kizzy. Yeah.
Kizzy is your dog?
Yes.
That's so cute. Oh, Kizzy.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going berry. I'm a big fan of berry tea, so I've just been drinking like loads of these raspberry teas at the moment.
I feel like as an American, I can't like quite measure up with a Brit on tea, but I feel like any of the brands that you'll be like, Jade, yeah, that's okay. But yes, I'm drinking a Tazo.
Okay, good. Well, at least you have a tea. I've had guests come on say I don't drink tea, so I've just brought like a lemon water or something. So
yeah, and then you just go like this.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it, and we will start with an intro. So just tell our audience who you are and what you do.
Yes, my name is Jade Bianca. I am the founder of Dating After Divorce, where I am a matchmaker and dating coach for divorced men and women. So I help my clients domestically and abroad to kind of reacclimate from being married to dating life. And that way we offer services from coaching to different variations of DIY matchmaking to more white glove, old fashioned matchmaking, the way they've done it for centuries. So yeah, I help divorcees get back out there.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so I've had my company for about a year now, but before that, I was just doing it on the side for friends and family.
Yeah. And what is your own personal circumstance, if you don't mind me asking? Like, why specifically divorcees that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm myself divorced, but my trajectory didn't come exactly from my divorce because mine was very amicable and it was no issue. It was just kind of, we were young and grew apart. But I was noticing, especially before the pandemic, that a lot of friends and family were having issues getting back out there. And whether it'd been like 1 to 5, 10, 15 years, it was really hard to get it into this new type of dating because with dating apps and especially with the complexity that COVID's given dating, I just kind of work as a liaison between those two worlds.
Mm-hmm. And do you find that a lot of your clients tend to be women or men, or it's just really a mix?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually started off as strictly a relationship coach working with divorced men, but I had a lot of women come to me saying that they were also looking for some assistance in acclimating. So I would say about 60% of my clientele is male and 40% are female. Primarily, it's heterosexual couples, but I also, anyone that identifies as a different gender identity or sexuality. I also work with other matchmakers who specialize more specifically in those.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned the traditional, so, okay, you called it white glove matchmaking. Is that what you called it?
Correct. Yes.
What exactly does that mean?
Yeah. So I guess it'll be easier to like just show you, like tell you the
compare
three
the two.
spectrums. Yeah. So
Okay.
I have a free matchmaking database. So right now I'm serving clients in the US and Canada and as well as England.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I offer free matchmaking. So it gives you the potential at no cost to be matched with a current paying client. My more modern is the DIY matchmaking.
Okay.
And I do that as a mixture of dating apps and then introducing my clients through dating apps that way. So it's kind of like a more fun take on it. And then the more white glove is the traditional matchmaking, where I specifically kind of work as a headhunter to find my clients the dates that they're looking for.
But do you find that, like, when people are looking for their partner,
Mm-hmm.
what do they look for? Like, because I feel like when I was in my 20s, like I had like a very big tick box list. But I feel like as you get older, you know, your situation changes, your experiences change, and so your tick box list kind of changes. What do you recommend people look for, and what are people traditionally looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, I do have clients that have also never been married as well. So people that are looking for different types of matchmaking. So that's one of the questions, because depending on your age and where you are in your life, it kind of, as you said, differentiates what you're looking for in a partner. Usually in your early 20s, you're looking at things a little bit more casually and you're just looking to enjoy that time you have with that person. So usually what I'm matching people upon is conversations that you're not typically having until later on in a relationship, whether that's casual or serious. And so that's specifically on like family planning. If you have kids, if you don't want to have kids, if you're open to dating someone with children, kind of that trajectory. I don't know if you have this issue in England, Martha, but political affiliation, especially in the last 4 years, has been a very polarizing topic.
Yeah.
So there are some people that are more moderate, that are open to both sides. And then I have people on both sides of the aisle that refuse to go out with someone that identifies other than what they are. Also religion. So it also depends on how they identify, like how strongly they identify with religion. So I have plenty of couples I've introduced that were Muslim and Christian, Jewish and Christian, just anything and everything. But it also depends on how often they like attend service.
Yeah. And I suppose how like strict they are with their own practices, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course it comes into some women and men care a lot about height and care a lot about I don't know if you've experienced that. But yeah, that and like proximity. So it's kind of just a array of things from deep to superficial.
Yeah. Do you find that you give advice on like if someone was really picky, or you just try to stick to exactly what they're looking for?
I definitely try to not let them put up such tight parameters that they don't get to meet people that are great, that they wouldn't otherwise meet. And by that, I mean, if they are, say it's a woman that's only open to men from like 35 to 40, no children, lives within a 15-mile radius and doesn't drink alcohol. Of course, she might be very like stern on the person not drinking alcohol, but the ages, when it comes down to it, if you met someone in person at a bar or a pub, you would bump it down a year or two or up a year or two. And you also wouldn't care so much if it was a few miles outside of your.
Yeah.
So I find that especially with dating apps that people they like tunnel vision so much that they don't allow those people in there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what dating after divorce looks like. Like, why does it look different for someone who's been divorced? Is there like some kind of trauma that a lot of your clients need to deal with before they delve in?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because it also, of course, depends on the individual. But if I'm going to generalize about how people kind of heal, so the healing process obviously isn't linear. It can be very up and down for a lot of people. But if I'm putting into two boxes, it would be people that either rebound very strong and kind of date anyone and everyone after a divorce to kind of cope with that, because most of the people that I've worked with have been in very long-term relationships or long-term marriages.
Yeah.
So you kind of get used to being dependent on someone just for like cohabitating. And then also people that just write off dating for years. And so I try and like find a common ground between the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, specifically, I think it's hard because the timeline for everyone is different, and some people do need to take a little bit more time to like have their independence again. But yeah, it always depends on the person for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think self-evaluation looks like for someone who's gone through a divorce or like a really big breakup?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do private coaching specifically. I hit on a few things, kind of to address previous dating patterns, or if it was a marriage, the issues that were there for both sides. So obviously, no relationship's perfect, no person is perfect. So taking accountability for what you've done or didn't do in a relationship isn't trying to push you down. It's trying to make sure that you recognize what you've done and to improve in the future. And so
Yeah.
men and women could both benefit from that. Um, Also, we try and touch on subjects that you wouldn't usually like sit and think about. Like you don't usually go to your journal and write like, these are my core values. These are the things that I stand for and I want my partner to stand for. And also boundaries is something that I discuss a lot. So I don't know if you've worked with people that discuss boundaries. I feel like a lot of relationship coaches are continuously talking about boundaries, but it's something that I didn't really learn later in life. And so it actually took me moving to a foreign country to realize that I had no boundaries before. I was like, bye guys.
Yeah. But like what kind of boundaries?
Yeah. So boundaries can mean a lot of different things, and not just partner relationships. It can also be parental relationships. It can be friendships. It can be work life. Boundaries is kind of taking a step back and recognizing where you're willing to make concessions in your life and where you aren't.
Yeah.
So just to speak about myself and my past, I used to kind of be a yes woman. I used to try and like appease everyone around me, whether that be my parents or my partner at the time or my friends. And so when I wanted and needed to say no for my sanity, I didn't, because I didn't want to upset others.
Right.
And so I kind of try and use that to help people recognize that there are certain things that they should be willing to stand firm on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is that also something more along the lines of, for example, if I didn't tolerate cheating, is that a boundary? Like I would call that, if you cross that line, I'm out kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% a boundary. Also, say for instance, people that have been cheated on in the past, and if you told your partner that you would prefer that they don't write private messages to women that they don't
Yeah.
know on like Instagram, like you are 100% entitled to that boundary.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that we have to realize is that your partner or your friend can't know you're upset about a boundary if you haven't vocalized it. So as people, we have to communicate our boundaries, also allow for some infractions because no one's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we've communicated our boundaries and discussed them with the person that we want them to respect, we have to also ask theirs to make sure that we're both being conscious of each other. And then once that happens, you have three choices. You can try and change it, you can accept it, or you can leave.
Okay.
And so I know it sounds kind of harsh, but I mean, you can try and change it. That's great. That's why we communicate things that we don't like. Accepting it, there are certain things that are strong boundaries and kind of lesser boundaries. So to each his own. And then leaving, I'm never saying just quit and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there are certain things that are toxic for relationships. Like, for instance, cheating could be something that if that person will not stop and it's not what you choose your life to be, then that's the only option.
Yeah. Okay. And so in terms of like after a breakup, what are some common like coping mechanisms for men and women after a breakup?
Yeah. So I suggest finding a new hobby, whether that be an activity, working out, learning a foreign language, just to kind of find yourself again. I think it's easy to kind of lose yourself in being a we in a relationship. So kind of finding yourself in different ways. So you can double down on an old hobby or do something new. I'm a big proponent of solo travel. I don't know if you've done that before. Have you?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did you feel like you kind of like putting yourself in a different, unique situation kind of helped you find a different part of yourself?
Yeah, I think it does make you self-evaluate when you're especially traveling on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helps you evaluate like who you are and what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something unique about making yourself be comfortable in the uncomfortable, like challenging yourself in a new way that isn't your normal like 9 to 5 work, sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously with COVID, it's been difficult, but I've just suggested like for people to go like, I don't know, to a cabin or go camping. I don't know. Do you like camping?
It's probably not on my top of the list of things to do. I'm much more like a beachy surf kind of yoga retreat person, but
Absolutely.
but yeah, I'm much more open to camping now than I was like in my 20s, I would say.
You say 20s, you look so young. How old are you?
Oh, I'm 35.
Oh, you have beautiful skin.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. She's like, I was like, she keeps saying in her 20s, but she could easily be like 27.
Oh, thanks.
No problem.
Yeah,
so
I
yeah.
mean, I'm more open to that now, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
And then also just, as I mentioned before, something that I recommend is kind of taking accountability. Just kind of like documenting what could have gone better and how our actions could have been different. Because we should always try and be conscious of like learning and growing.
I saw something online. I don't know if you follow Shan Boodram. She's a sex and relationship coach, but she mentioned that a good exercise to do is to, depending on what the breakup situation was, is to actually ask your ex-partner like a series of questions to kind of get their opinion on where you could have done better or how you might have hurt them or how you might have been able to try harder or et cetera, et cetera. And I wondered whether you actually do that. If I came to you as a client, would you try to delve into finding some information from my ex-partner, or would you just focus on me?
I only focus on my client. I feel like coming into that, that's great that she does that, and I'll have to look into it. And I think that's something that is kind of a bit too personal for me as a third party to come in and ask. I think that in an ideal world, we could all have relationships where we left and we were cordial and amicable. But unfortunately, especially in something like a divorce, things are not always that way. So I try and just focus on what they can change moving forward. But that is a great question to kind of reflect, to like take that person out and be like, if I was to ask your ex, whether it's girlfriend, boyfriend, or wife or husband, what would they say that you could have done differently? And that kind of like allows us to take ourselves out of the situation and say, I could have been more communicative. I could have asked her how her day was or things like that.
Okay. Yeah. And then what are some red flags while dating after divorce?
I think they're the same with just dating in general. I think it also depends on where you are in life. As we mentioned before, between 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, there's a lot of different things that people are looking for.
Yeah.
So I think just being honest with yourself about where you want your next chapter to be is important. I think that there's nothing wrong if someone's choosing to date casually or someone's looking for a serious relationship, but we have to just be honest with ourselves because, say, for instance, a lot of men that are in their 40s or 50s, when they become single again, they have at least I'll just speak generally, they have a habit of dating women that are much younger, which is great, and to each his own if they're consenting adults. But I have to I call them my sugar toddlers. And by that, I mean, like, these men that have kind of lived their life, they're looking for someone who's kind of like younger, let's just be honest, younger and hot. And they want them to like settle down and be where they are. Whereas women at that age are probably looking to either like take their career in like the next step or also start a family. So I have to give people that honest, blunt truth that your friends and family might not give you, and say, listen, you're 52. Are you looking to start a new family? Because that's what that 26, 27-year-old is probably looking for.
Yeah. Is that, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's like the equivalent of a midlife, I'm going to buy a sports car kind of decision. Or is that just a natural thing to do?
I think that women and men have a way of trying to like revamp themselves. And I think everyone deserves to feel. So I'll back up. I think everyone deserves to feel loved and desired and wanted. And I think that when people get out of long-term relationships or long-term marriages, it's easy that's usually the first thing to go, is like the sex drive, the compatibility with intercourse. And so a lot of times it's easier to like jump directly into that, to kind of want to feel validated again.
Okay.
But I think we kind of paint men as the ones who come with a sports car, and women are usually the ones taking care of the family.
Yeah.
But it could easily be either way.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any do's and don'ts of dating?
Yes. I think I always suggest to people to just be honest with your intentions. And I think that I would recommend, of course, never ghosting as a matchmaker. Yeah. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, now that you said ghosting, I had another lady last year on my as a guest who's a matchmaker, and she said ghosting is actually really common.
Yeah. So with my clients that are matchmaking clients and people that I'm introducing them with, it's obviously much better, but I can't physically act for people. And so it is something that, regardless of your age, we know the intention behind ghosting, right? Like, sometimes people think that they're saving someone's feelings. Yeah, by not telling them, when in actuality it drags out this ickiness, and that kind of makes someone feel undervalued and not respected enough to give a thing. I'm not saying that I've never ghosted in the past.
Yeah.
It's something I would hope I never do again or never had to do, but I think everyone's kind of guilty of having that. Have you ghosted, Martha?
I mean, I'm inclined to say yeah, but when I think about it, I can't think of a specific example. I think I'm actually more blunt, and I don't always know if that's a good thing. Like, sometimes I'm very conscious of like trying to be firm but kind, and I sometimes struggle with that. But yeah, I probably have, but not a lot. I don't think it's something I naturally would do.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it in a very, very long time. It's just something I would be lying to say that if I hadn't. But when the tables are turned, when it's done to you,
I've definitely been ghosted.
Yeah, and the worst is just I was listening to Aziz Ansari's Modern Romance, and it was talking about breaking up with people via text or in person, or and how that goes, or like someone changing the status on social media. And I was just like, it seems nothing's more juvenile than just to send a breakup text to me.
Yeah. But I mean, something like divorce, you're not going to do over a text, surely.
I've heard of people like sending just like, I've had enough text. Obviously there's paperwork and there's everything involved, but I don't know if you know about this or how the lockdown's going over there, but I've actually had a lot of clients that their divorce has been much more complicated with COVID because of certain the legality of things, and they've had to stay in their homes for a longer amount of time because the courts have been closed. And so it adds another layer of complexity of a divorce.
Yeah.
So yeah. Are you guys still on lockdown?
Yeah, we're in lockdown again for the third time now. We've been in.
Oh gosh.
But it's looking like we'll be in lockdown till like mid or end of March at the moment, if it doesn't get extended.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of lockdown, like, where do you even start dating afresh? Like, even whether it's after just a breakup or after a divorce during lockdown, like, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's 2021 now, and there are more ways of meeting people now than there ever were before. I'm not saying every place has the quality of people, the caliber of people that you're looking for. But I would say do try and check out a few dating apps. If you have the sanity and the capacity to do it. Sometimes it's necessary to take a break from those. Um, there are certain ones that I felt like females specifically enjoyed more. Do you guys have Bumble over there?
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of gives women the driver's seat to initiate conversation. Also, Coffee Meets Bagel. Have you heard of that?
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Okay. I'll check and make sure that it's in England. But yeah, that one's been a really great thing for my clients, as well as Hinge. But I think what's different about this is obviously you can't meet in person, at least right away. So it does give us the opportunity to kind of get to know the person a little bit more. And what I suggest is kind of taking that conversation from the dating app platform to a phone call or a video chat. Like, obviously we're mostly all working from home. We don't want to do continuous Zoom dates, but it's kind of nice to see that person's demeanor. Also, their photos might have a bunch of filters, so you don't know what they actually look like. And also it could save you the time and energy of going out to dinner and sitting through a boring dinner.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just suggest like a Zoom happy hour with the person that you are interested in. And from there, you kind of evaluate if they're COVID worthy. And also if they are taking the same precautions as you are. Because obviously if you are yourself immunocompromised or a loved one is, that's going to be like a much higher concern.
Yeah. Do you recommend dating apps in general? Do you think they're for a specific age range maybe, or what are your thoughts?
I think that most age ranges, I think it might be a little bit more difficult for someone over 50, over 55. But yes, I think that certain dating apps, so say before I was very anti-Tinder, because it is perceived as such a hookup app. But it is also the most widely used dating app in the world.
Really? Still?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's interesting because you're kind of playing a numbers game regardless. So I think that there are certain things like with Match.com, for instance, if you're using the paid features, it's usually like a better quality of men or women that you're selecting. But yeah, I think it's completely possible. I think that the reason why it is good to kind of go to a matchmaker if you are able to is because it kind of takes away that second job of dating apps, because it can feel like another job.
Yeah, because that was what I was going to ask you as well, is as a matchmaker, you're kind of, I imagine, doing all the hard work or all the legwork for them. Is that right?
Yeah. So the way that I do it is they go into my database and I have multiple conversations about their dating preferences and kind of give an idea of what they're looking for and who they're looking for. And then I have several surveys that I get them to fill out. And so I run dating apps for clients as well.
Okay.
For the DIY matchmaking. And that's when it comes that I'm kind of like helping select people that I have an idea that they're interested in, but they might not usually swipe on themselves. Because even with like the first dating app, I just wrote something about it. It was like kiss.com in the mid 90s, like right before Match. And they were finding that when they were doing compatibility tests, the people, their users weren't actually selecting and liking the people that were completely compatible with them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That it was actually like a different person that they were choosing. So that's kind of like the unique job of a matchmaker, is being like, okay, well, this is what you're looking for. And I respect that. But what about this person?
Yeah. And do you get to know each of your clients like quite personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a smaller boutique matchmaking firm. And so I personally vet and have multiple conversations via Zoom with my person, just to make sure that on the internet, you can never be too sure of like they are who they say they are. So yeah, and then on the higher end, the white glove, I'm doing background checks and vetting everyone as well. So yeah, it's a way of kind of ensuring your privacy, because you can never be too secure these days.
Yeah. Okay. So then so how do you work with clients in terms of, do you have like any other resources or like books or anything that clients can come and look at when they come to your website? Or is it just a matchmaking service?
So it's a matchmaking and coaching service. So I basically have like a blog with dating advice, and people can sign up for a weekly newsletter.
Oh, cool.
I don't actually have an ebook right now. I'm working on one. So as of right now, those are my services. But I also have like a private Facebook community. It's called Dating After Divorce, for anyone who is kind of looking for resources. So I try and just give like a platform to have a community that you wouldn't otherwise find. So it's not exactly divorce support, and it's not 100% dating. It's kind of like a mix hodgepodge of everything.
Yeah. But when you say coaching, do you coach if like you set a couple up and they were doing really well, like do you coach post dating, or is it just like, okay, cool, you guys have matched up, so go now?
So that's a great question. So I do kind of like a survey before and after. So kind of, as you were saying, for that person to be like, what went right? What didn't go right?
Yeah.
Just to kind of like evaluate things. And I can't obviously attend the date with those people. So it's kind of,
yeah.
There's always two sides of a story. So it is interesting kind of learning from those. But usually my coaching is for people that are just having a bit of difficulty or challenges dating. And that is definitely not a gender specific issue, because I think men and women both have kind of challenges when it comes to dating.
Yeah. Okay. And are there any like outside resources that you would recommend for anyone looking to start fresh after a divorce?
Yeah, I work with a lot of divorce coaches. I work with a lot of other relationship coaches. I try and bring in people, especially on my Instagram platform, to do like Instagram lives with people that kind of have, whether it's financial advisors, real estate agents, to kind of help you after a divorce. I worked with a men's therapist specifically, because if we're being gender biased again, most of the time it's more difficult for men to discuss their feelings, because at least I can speak to American cultures that we don't typically tell our sons and young men to express themselves and talk about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And then when they become adult men and they're in relationships, we as partners are like, why don't you communicate more? Why don't you tell me what you're feeling? And so just trying to provide different things like that.
Okay. So how can my audience connect with you following this podcast?
Yeah. So my website is datingafterdivorce.com. You can sign up for our free newsletter or join our free matchmaking database and message me to learn about our services. Also, my Instagram is at dating_after_div.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put all of that in the caption anyway, so
Okay.
people can just click through. And then finally, can you finish off with any words of wisdom? So if our listeners were to take away one golden nugget from this episode, what would you want it to be?
Yes, I would say it would be take your time and that you've got this, because healing is not a linear trajectory, that you are allowed to sit in your feelings and kind of take your time in that process. And so that if you don't feel ready to date or ready to move on, just worry about yourself. That's at the end of the day, you really have yourself, and looking out for yourself is number one to growing and becoming a better person.
Yeah. And even if people aren't ready to date, like aren't ready to jump into dates specifically, but they're open to kind of exploring and taking that first step within themselves, they can still work with you, right?
Absolutely. And so that brings up a great point. You asked for suggestions for dating again. My number one advice that I don't know how I forgot until now was to actually take the time when you go out with someone, whether that be for a drink or a coffee or a lunch, whatever. Just try to look at it as you are enjoying time with someone that you would have never otherwise met. This person might not be your future partner. This might not be your soulmate, but everyone in this world has something to offer and something to take from. And so just try and enjoy the presence of that person, and it will kind of take away the feeling of dating being a job.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications on new episodes every Wednesday.